All right. So Tim's not seeing video, he says, but you will because there's a delay between the time we click the button and it makes it to you, because even though the electrons move at the speed of light, Facebook doesn't.
Yeah.
Hey, is that you echoing or is that me?
That was me. That was me. That was me. Sorry, my bad.
Did I turn down my volume? All right, cool. No, I am. So before we even get started, I'm going to do a shameless plug here. The first comment that I put down there is a new YouTube channel that I'm working on. So if all of you guys, if you haven't already, I know a bunch of you had, thank you so much. But if you haven't already, just click that link. It'll automatically ask you if you want to subscribe. And I would love for you to click yes and confirm that. Before I can really build that channel out to what it's supposed to be, we need 100 subscribers so that I can start making edits and doing stuff like that. For the moment.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
I've got a question. Could this be subscribed by some of our parents and some of our neighboring bodies?
So the goal with this, and this started based on a conversation we had in one of our coaching calls, actually, that a lot of the stuff we put out is branded with various headquarters schools. So for some of the stuff that we put out that's actually parent facing, it would be nice to have that on a Skillz branded channel, so they could just plug and play it without having to explain why another school's name is on it. But from that original conversation and that idea came, we put out a ton of content that is designed for other schools, other industries, teachers, coaches, and whether people realize it or not, for parents directly. So, we have this information kind of scattered around the interwebs. So this will be a nice centrally located spot for it. As of right now, it is a repository for previous episodes of the Skillz show, which I know everybody will want to go watch from the beginning and see the evolution of what we've done. But there's
how many times do you go watch, season 1 before you watch? I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. How many times do you go revisit or rewatch season 1 of whatever, or episode 1 of whatever, so you can catch up with the?
Yeah. So season 1 of the Skillz show was actually not even mostly the Skillz show. This all started as just a service thing for Skillz members in the Skillz group.
Yep.
Then expanded out to the martial arts community in Melody's Skillz Tips group, and then ended up kind of blossoming to what it is. So many of you have probably not seen season 1, and while that's not up on the channel yet, it will be. So you'll get to see us aging and the worry lines, and
yeah, right.
You just got to watch it backwards so we get younger, going back a year or two. Can you believe that we've been at this like over a year doing this?
We actually launched it February 9th, 2019.
Wow.
Don't ask me why and how I remember that date, but we did.
Do you remember your wedding anniversary like that?
Bro, my wedding anniversary is tomorrow. Remember, we're supposed to be in MegaCon this week.
I know. I saw the notification pop up on my calendar this morning.
Yep, me too. Me too.
It'll be even better when we finally get together.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
Go ahead. Go ahead. Because I was going to segue.
Oh, no. I was going to say, we were today, the executives who were supposed to be down in Florida, getting everything, paved and all that stuff for VIP day tomorrow, followed by, the MegaCon weekend. But rest assured, October is going to be amazing. That just gives us more time to provide more content.
Just got to bring it harder. That's all.
Yep.
All right. So that's a nice segue into, the trials and tribulations, as my dad would say, of today, even though they're painful. And I know many of you have reopened and you're doing business as usual, and have at it. I got like another 12 weeks. But the things that we're going through over the past 2 or 3 months for some of us, while they're painful and trying and not what we envisioned, have actually made us far better for tomorrow. And if you read the description of the video, when I was a kid, I think it was in about 5th or 6th grade, they started bringing computers into the classroom. So if you want to go do the math, there we go. I think we had an Apple II. It came into the classroom. That technical thinking that they started introducing into many of the subjects made us immensely valuable to our parents because we could program the VCR. Now,
Yes.
some of you are watching going, what's a VCR and why did you program it? And that's okay. So, as the world started becoming far more technical for our parents, my dad would have been in his 70s by now. His generation was kind of the forefront of welcoming that into the home. My generation or our generation was the forefront of growing up with it. So because we looked at it with a child's mind, it was very easy to just say, this is how life is. And it became natural to us. So when something technical like the VCR needed to be programmed, it was, hey, little Johnny, come program the VCR because the power went out. Nowadays, we Gen Xers are just kind of used to that. I know some of you are not Gen Xers and you just call us boomers. We're not that old. Because we grew up with it, we are also uniquely adapted to have dealt with everything that's happened over the past few months. So it becomes our job again to redirect what we're learning right now to the kids. We directed it originally to our parents. Now we have to direct it to the kids. So today we want to talk about some of the challenges that have polished us over the past few months and show that it's a positive and how we are going to implement some of those. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the parent skills topics because they do apply to us as instructors, some of the unique things that we're still facing in our schools that we're looking forward to it. And I'd also like to touch on Melody's post from this morning about her entrepreneur skills. Now, entrepreneurship is something I actively teach in my Storm Team and my Elite Skills classes. But the mindset is one of success, and I think it's one that everybody could benefit from. So today's post for Melody was all about composure. And John, I'm going to throw you under the bus in a good way here.
For it. Go for it.
Well, we do. John and I talk about some really deep things in our business. And while I'm not going to go into his privacy, what I am going to say is what I see in John is that he's facing some very real challenges, but you never see him blink on these videos. He's always out there doing what needs to be done. And I hope I exhibit something similar. But that's composure. It doesn't mean things aren't bad, but that we face through it. We get through it. So John, how do you maintain your composure? And while you talk about that, I'm going to pull up those here.
Sure. So, again, for those of you that know me, and Jennifer, we used to be in that negative mindset constantly. We always expected, the worst out of every situation. And we looked at the worst at every single move. And it was like, okay, how are we going to survive this? Heck, we're not going to survive it, blah, blah, blah. And it was just becoming so exhausting. Like, okay, so this is something about me that I don't know if I'm proud to say or not proud to say. I used to live off of 3 things. 1, sleeping pills, because I couldn't sleep. The stress level was just so high that I just couldn't sleep. 2, antacids. So between Tums, Alka-Seltzers, all that stuff, because it was just eating at me, right? 3, it was I don't want to say overeating, boredom eating, or stress eating. Because it was like, if my mouth is busy, then my mind is not busy. Does that make sense? Thankfully, I did not go the drugs route or the alcoholic route or whatever, right? But it
Those
came
are
to a
very
point.
real draws for people, by the way.
Yeah, they are. And it came to a point where, okay, something has to change. And this is when things changed roughly about 6 years ago. Because we're in a growth mindset, we have every right as human beings to be, I don't want to say negative, but to face those challenges, and to put those emotions out there, but having the right person in place that you can talk to and just let it out, just speak it out loud. For some reason, once I speak it out loud with Michael, it just helps me go, "Phew, it's over, it's off my brain now." You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
and that's it. We don't even need answers. You just need to like
No.
take this and put it somewhere so you can
Yeah.
get on with being what you're supposed to be.
Yeah. And I remember Melody a long time ago. She was talking to us. We were in the same coaching group together, and we were talking about the rituals and stuff like that. And somebody would send you a text, and you are so ready to reply back to that text with this, like, F and this, and, whatever this and whatever that. Okay. So you type it out, just don't goof up and hit send. You
Yeah.
type it out how you feel, and then erase it, and then go back and put the logistic way of saying it.
Yeah, it's very cathartic. Yeah, I did
Yeah.
that just yesterday. Somebody posted, I forget where it was, but it was a protest about the gyms wanting to open, and without getting into the politics of it, the news report was very swayed in one direction, just saying, look at these people, they want everybody to die,
Yep.
and we know truth is somewhere in the middle, and we all have our own feelings about it. But I typed out this whole thing like, you're being very dismissive, and here's the perspective of a business owner. Now, it wasn't my area, it wasn't my news station, it wasn't my gym, but I did need to vent the fact that, as I ask questions, the public being very polarized right now, usually the only response is diatribe, invective, nastiness, accusation in both directions. This is not one side or the other. This is everybody right now. So for me to type out, and you guys know how I write, to type out like 5 paragraphs and then just hit the delete button, it allowed me to let it go.
Yeah.
And then
you vented.
Yep.
You vented.
It's
you,
out.
you got it out, and it's out.
And I was very careful to hit the delete button because I have back in the corporate days typed out stuff like that and accidentally hit send. And then it's like, what do I
do? Another thing I learned a long time ago is to take it, write it out on a sheet of paper, crumble up that sheet of paper, and then go outside, burn it, and throw it in the air.
Burn it. Yeah.
Okay. And that's where we are. We have the right to vent. We have the right to feel the emotions. Guys, when we opened up a martial arts studio, it wasn't just because, you had the passion to teach martial arts. No, there was something more to it. There was more meaning behind it. You know what I mean? You want to work with others. You want to lead others. You want to be able to just take those young kids and develop them into something maybe like you, or some people better than you, right? So it just came to a point where, or we are at a point right now where we're questioning things. We're questioning, is this going to survive or not? We're questioning if we're going to make it. Am I going to still pursue my passion or not? You know what I mean? For me, kind of like I told Michael, I'm not so worried about what the next step is. Right now, I'm more worried about having spent an entire year building an amazing facility, right? And we take a lot of pride in this facility. I can't tell you how many people came over to our studio and they were like in awe with the facility. You know what I mean? And now, at worst case scenario, I'm going to have to build another one, right? But do I want to go through that headache?
No, I'm sure
I don't. Will I have to? I don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
Now, there's an interesting statistic I learned in a psychology class once, and I don't know how true it is because most psych professors I've ever had in my life were probably just patients who made it through the program. But they said that something like 80% of what we worry about is unfounded.
Absolutely.
Completely it's our mind just running rampant about worst case scenarios. It's completely unfounded, will not even come into reality. Something like another 15% are things that are possible but not as big, or possible but we have no control over them.
Yep.
So we give too much energy to that 15%. And instead, if we only focused on the 5 or so percent that's left, the things that probably will happen or are likely to happen and which we have control over, we will be so effective because we'll be so at peace and so focused. You know, when I was in boot camp, we learned about the Marine Corps leadership principles. And, you know, while Melody was posting about composure today, it reminded me about our leadership principle, bearing, which we learned about the hard way. You know, you would inhale when you were supposed to exhale, and 12 drill instructors would just materialize and start spraying on you as they screamed. But there would always be one out of all those drill instructors that as you started like trembling, like you wanted to hit somebody, bad idea, by the way, you know, there'd always be one drill instructor who, instead of yelling at you, would yell at you by just saying, bearing, recruit, because no matter what, you needed to act like a United States Marine. You needed to stare danger in the face. And drill instructors are by far the most dangerous thing in the entire universe. And stand there with composure. Because if you made an emotional decision and lashed out, your career was over, your entire career. And it's no different right now with our entrepreneur skill of composure. Right now, you are learning how to handle stress. That's what this is about right now. You are learning the stress of pivoting your business, of making plans for failure. But you have to also learn how to do that with a certain aplomb. You need to, you know, I'm worried about my business. We're not doing that bad, but I'm still, maybe worried is the wrong word, concerned.
Yeah.
You know, and even if, like John said, worst case scenario, the landlord says, hey, we can't do this anymore. You're out. I need to burn the building, whatever. I know I can start again tomorrow. So
right there, though, like you said, if the landlord says we can't do this anymore, first of all, you guys got to keep in mind two things. If the landlords do that, they're shooting themselves in the foot.
They are, and it shows it's probably not somebody, you know, I told my landlord first, you know, before they sold out to, not sold out, but before they sold the business to a corporate partner. You know, when we first opened the business, we opened in far more space than we could handle, but it was a deal we couldn't pass up. And we really struggled the first 6 months, but the landlord was part of our team.
Yep.
He was committed to our success. Our landlord now, yeah, he's on the line. He still wants to be successful, but he's a corporate entity.
You know, remember when we moved out of the old space and I told you how our landlord sued us?
Yeah.
Up until today, that plaza is going down the drain. And guys, this was almost 2 years ago. Imagine now, if the landlord decides, by the way, when the landlord sued us, it wasn't any fault of ours, just to clarify that.
We saw graffiti in the parking lot.
Right. Yeah, right. So right now, if the landlords decide to kick you out, oh, by the way, he sued us. And just to finish what I was going to say, since then, we've had 3 phone calls of people contacting us because they searched us online. You know, you can do that, by the way. You can find out who the previous tenants were at a certain location. And you can call them and ask them, how was your landlord? How was that landlord? I was like, you guys are very smart. Thank you very much for calling me. However, here's the deal. He was absolutely great. But once he found out that we were moving, he decided to sue us. Flat out. Boom. Okay. So right now, if the landlords make that move, you can very easily go right down the street and pick up another spot, maybe at a less price. So
just to be fair and look at this from the landlord's side of things, the landlord was well within his rights to attempt to sue. This is a free country. You could sue anybody for anything. And if he would have won, that would have been the judge saying that John was wrong and the landlord was right. The landlords, you know, you sign a contract and they have businesses to manage and they're going to manage them how they do. You know, so we don't want to get on landlords either and say, well, this one is the reason I failed. They're just a business partner that you have.
Yep, exactly.
And one of the things we do, just like John mentioned, you know, before we look at any space, and we are always looking at spaces, even though we're, you know, fine where we are, we're always looking at spaces. We always ask, what's the landlord like here? And, you know, 90% of the people that we speak to are unhappy with their landlords. There are 10% who love their landlords, and those are I mean, we weigh it against the sense that we get off people's mindset as well. There are some people that will just hate the landlord no matter what. But we're very conscious of not making emotional decisions about the landlord as a business partner. We want to make composed business decisions. And the more we practice that right now, oh my God, my business is going to close. The governor hates me. Stepping back from that and saying, okay, we're facing this challenge. How am I moving forward? You're actually training your brain to think in a more proactive way. 2 or 3 months from now, when things are quote unquote back to normal, that will serve you wonderfully. If you can do that now while things are tough, what will you be able to do later when things are easier? I don't know if things are ever easy in business, but when they're easier. So let's talk about, us as instructors, as parents, coaches, mentors. What are some of the things that we are finding? And guys, if you're watching, this is a live broadcast. You can chime in too. Unless you're watching on the replay, in which you can also chime into. What are some things that we're viewing as challenges right now that in the imagined future of everything being back to normal will make us better then? So that we can start to shift our mindset a little bit.
I find myself to be a lot more patient right now than when I'm teaching on the floor.
Yeah, there's a lot of room here for patience.
And I find myself to be more, I'm complimenting more. I'm also, just to be, honest, I'm also pushing harder, more, especially out of those anomalies that we have in the studio who are Storm team members, who are, signature, right? They're so influenced socially. They're so influenced emotionally by being in the studio, and they feed off of each other's energy and motivation, that some of them right now, I'm seeing it right now while they're home, they're not as motivated as they used to be. Okay. And it may be different from school to school and studio to studio and kid to kid, but you're going to have that one kid who's kind of like, and, I'm like, okay, why? Why is that happening? And after a little bit of patience and a little bit of like asking some sneaky questions, they're with their parents all the time. And depending on the parental approach of those parents, they're constantly getting the nag, right? They're constantly getting the, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Da 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 da. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like the parents are stressed. So that stress is being fed off to the kids. And then by the time the kids come to class, it's supposed to be an outlet, but it's almost like they're emotionally drained.
Yeah.
So I'm having to really spend the time to kind of get them back up,
It's amazing how much the kids absorb from the world around them, even as we try to shield them from it.
Mm-hmm.
We did similar to, and we talked about this in the 3-2-1 Zoom call the other day. One of the things that I do is every now and then we'll go through a class and I'll highlight each kid and have them discuss a topic, which I can then pick apart, put back together as a video. Tim Flynn used it for Mother's Day, and it worked wonderfully for him. What we did in the Storm team was, hey, your kids miss you, so I want you to just leave like a 2 to 10 second little hey, I miss you video, and I'll cobble them all together. Now, this was probably about a month ago, and I couldn't use the video because it didn't fit what I was looking for, but it gave me really good insight into how the world is affecting our kids. And here's why. It was supposed to be, hey guys, I miss you. I can't wait to see you in class again. Make sure you're practicing. Bye. And every single child said, hi, everybody. I hope you're healthy and staying alive. Don't be fearful during these trying times. and wash your hands so I can see you again. And it was like, wow, the things that are going around to adults are trickling down to the kids. So, every child who lives in a household with parental strife, maybe you're going through divorce or trying times, whatever, it's not a judgment call. No matter how hard you try to hide it from the kids, they know. And they make suppositions about it and decisions in their young minds about it. So, we have to take time, and this is where I think patience comes in. You have to really take time, not just to speak at the kids, but to let them talk to you as well. And I know it's ironic because we're being more patient right now, but we have less time in class. Everybody's doing time compressed classes. Even more so, the kids need to be able to talk it through. Just like we do play-based learning, because the kids need to play with those lessons, they need to talk to us, and we need to be able to listen. You're going to serve your students far better through that than by teaching them the next coolest kick, usually. So patience, definitely. Let's see. Darren says, get out of our comfort zone, embrace challenge. Life values also change for everyone. Yeah, for sure. And even mentioning comfort zone, we know that success lies on the outside of it.
Absolutely.
I think we talked about that last season too, where you don't have to leap out of your comfort zone. You can kind of bubble out of it little bits by little bits. Although one could say we've been thrust out of our comfort zone lately. So one of the areas where we're focusing in my school is on connection. And guys, you'll notice as we speak, these are mostly the parent skills, because we are here to support the parents, right? Teaching online is very two-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
You lose the physical contact. Even though you are both looking at one another, it's not true eye contact. Even though they're holding the phone at face level so they can see it, you're not truly getting down on their level. The audio is not as rich. It's harder to pick up on distinctions in words and in tone. It's harder to pick up on body language when things are this big on your screen. So my team has been spending a lot of time learning how to build connection with students despite those things. And it's really difficult. One of the things we've been doing is we've been timing the team as they teach lessons to get words per minute. In person, it's not such a big deal because a lot of communication is watching the lips, watching the body, and hearing intonation. But in video, the way to build connection is through the actual content of the words and how they understand it. So we found out that Mr. Rogers speaks at 124 words per minute and is often touted as the best ideal for speaking to children in an educational way. Most adults speak between 160, 180. So when we come back to class and I'm able to get down on their level, make eye contact, high five them, all these other things that we do, plus all of the connection lessons that we're working on at home, man, it's going to be through the roof. We're going to be so amazing at bonding with children so quickly, and we were already good.
Hey, you know what? Let me throw a little curveball at you. Okay, so we're trying to reopen next week.
Okay.
And this week we are going through the we're teaching out of the studio again this week.
Okay.
And myself and the team are there during the classes. Are you ready? We're wearing masks. So let's talk about facial expressions. Let's talk about whether you're smiling because of a kid did something good or not. So now here's the curveball. The connection is happening, but it's not seen. Okay. The frustration is there because they can't hear you well. So there is a lot in place, you guys. So I'm going to suggest for all of you, if you're currently teaching classes and you're about to go through a reopening process, or maybe, you know, in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, go ahead and get that mask, put it on. And while you're home, train yourself and train your team to teach with that mask on, because for the past 2 days, it's been a struggle.
Yeah, that's a good one. I know they do make some masks with for the hard of hearing that have the clear panel, but everything is an expense to be weighed.
Sure.
And
Sure.
you them. You as a Skillz school, we have the 10 laws of instruction and all our teaching tools, and the more we use, the better. So this is a really good opportunity to figure out, how do you convey a smile without a smile? It can be a body language thing. You can't see a body language thing that you do that it's consistent. For example, one of the things that I do that I learned from a meditation class actually was, whenever I praise a child, I touch them in the exact same way. It's always a hand on the shoulder that I leave there for about 2 seconds. This way, once they've been conditioned to recognize this means praise, I can continue teaching and talking and just walk by, put my hand on somebody's shoulder, point at them and wink, and keep going and never acknowledge them. But they get that same sense of comfort that they've done something right. So same thing, if you can't smile and your vocal intonation is a little bit muffled, how are you supplementing it?
So like for us, because my job, again, the composure.
I love the statement already.
Okay.
Because I know it's not going to be teach kids martial arts. All right. So my job.
For me, it was like, okay, guys, you're going to get on the floor and this is what you're going to do. So the team yesterday, Monday was the first run. Yesterday was the second run. So my brain was already tick-tocking, right? Okay, guys, here's what you're going to do. You're going to take turn teaching classes. Okay. And we're not bringing in the storm yet. We're just taking our team of instructors to get on the floor and teach the classes, because I can't train the storm while I'm training the team, because this is a whole new beast that we're dealing with. Yeah, like you said, it's one thing to stand in front of the room and talk, and they can see you and they can sense your emotion, feel you, and all that good stuff. And now it's kind of like, it's like through a screen, like we're doing right now. So it was like, okay, speak slowly, don't be super loud, and if you're trying to smile or stuff like that, just go like, yes, good job, yes, that's it. It's in the way you talk, but you have to slow down, because sometimes when you've got a mask on with Zoom, it cuts. So, you've got to be careful with that.
So here's one I recommend, and it's something I've always wanted to do based on some experiences from childhood, but I recommend going and taking a sign language course. So American Sign Language, if you're here in the States, or each region has its own, I guess, language or dialect, because these are people who live every day with impaired or no sense of hearing, and everything they do is based off of what they can see.
Yes.
Now, one thing that I learned, Heidi took a course when she was in college, is that it's not just what you're doing with your hands, it's how you squint your eyes, it's how you tilt your head, it's how you move your body. A lot of facial and body expression ties into the actual signs. So if we take the actual signs out of it, but retain those body language cues, it will enhance, for those of us that are hearing abled, our ability to understand the context of what's going on. It's another way to build connection.
If you guys want to learn, look up the Georgia Sign Language guy. I can't even remember his name right now. That comes out with our governor. He's all over TikTok. He's all like, that guy is so animated.
That's funny, because I actually follow a lot of sign language teachers on TikTok. It's one of my favorite videos because it's so quick. They're usually entertaining, and I learn something from them. So I follow a lot of sign language guys on TikTok. All right. So you had patience. I had building connection. Have you found that prompting has become easier, harder, more important, less important? How have you noticed that with your online classes?
So kind of like when I said it with patients, I'm having to have a lot of patience because of the different vibes that I'm getting out of the students. Okay. So along with vibes, I'm going to put in tune, right? And because I'm in tune with a lot of the students, even though my team do teach the classes, my job is not to just have them teach the classes. My job is to walk into that classroom and be in tune with my team along with those students. I don't want to be an absent instructor. I don't want to be the instructor that sits in the office, does the office work, and have no idea who Johnny is and if Johnny's ready for that test or not. Okay. So with that, yes, remember when I said I do prompt them? You know what I mean? I have to. And I'm paying close attention to prompting that good behavior, but at the same time, I'm prompting and trying to boost that. I'm going to use the word lower morale or lower confidence, whatever the case, whatever is going on in their house, I'm having to boost that somehow. So yeah, prompting is like part of it. Don't be kissing him on the show. I'm just kidding.
The family kind of show.
Woo! But yeah, no, you're right. You have to, because you know, like you said, we've gotten used to walking around and say, "Hey, good job, Johnny," and you're touching them on the shoulder, right? So now I have to verbally do it,
Yep.
and I spotlight them. You know, I take it, I make it a point where I'm going, wait, that was awesome. Hey, can you do that again? Give me a second. Let me spotlight you. And all of them learned what spotlight is. You know what I mean? Because we're using Zoom language now. So taking that time, and if you can, whether they do good or bad, let me rephrase that. Whether they do good or great, right? For a lack of better words, I try to prompt everybody. So even Chris may be dropping his hands. Okay. Even Chris may be tilting when he's kicking. Wait, Chris, dude, are you on my signature team? Yes. Dude, are you a skill signature? Yes. Can you show me how we do it in the skill signature class? So I have to re-energize that vibe. I have to re-energize that mind for him to understand that
That's
he's
nice.
not just,
It reconnects him to that tribe of
yes,
signature, which
yes.
if you guys haven't been following, in John's school, signature is his like higher level demo team. You know, that they're the exemplars in the school.
Yep. So yeah, prompting, you have to. And, you know, don't just make it negative, take it both directions.
You know, one thing that we've noticed with our prompting efforts is the team is becoming more, and you said in tune, which attunement is one of our parent skills. They've become more in tune with each student as an individual, because whereas in class, the lead can just teach class, the assistants and storm team can manage all those, you know, the little redirects and prompts and bathroom breaks and belt tyings. Whereas now you can't break off and do that. The lead instructor has to be completely on point with every single student. So we've gotten to the point where we know every single student's quirks and the tells that they're about to be quirky, so that we can start to notice these things even in that little tiny Zoom box on our window and prompt the behavior that we would like to see before the adaptive behavior manifests. So, you know, as soon as I see AJ take a step back from the camera, I know he's about to plop his lazy butt on that couch and say he's doing his balance skill as he wiggles his foot in the air, thinking that we can't see him, right? So as soon as he takes that step back, boom, he's spotlighted. He's pulled up on the screen, and we are prompting him to show us the best that he could possibly be before he gets to the couch. Now, I think this is a skill that will help my team a lot when we come back, because whereas in the past, you know, the struggle is always lead instructors are lead instructors for a reason. They can handle the floor. And then the assistants and the storm team, it's always a challenge to help them. And it's a fun challenge, you know, it's why we're here, to help them see things that are going wrong before they go wrong. Now they have no choice so that when we get back, I expect that my team is going to run a flawless floor, as flawless as it can be.
So I've got a question, and if you guys are watching, give me a thumbs up if you're in tune with your kids. Okay? Give us a heart if you're in tune with your kids, but you're more in tune with the parents. Because if you're not in tune with the parents, I'm not looking at the phone. If you're not in tune with the parents, what you're doing with the kids may be a little difficult. Does that make sense? But if I'm in tune with the parent, then I know what I need to do to be more in tune with the child. Does that make sense, Michael, or is not?
It does. And, that's one of the things that, we often talk about in the sales process is, you have to find out what that parent's pain point is.
Yes.
So that you can then examine the child, measure it against developmental norms, and then discuss back to the parent how the behaviors that we observe match or don't match the concerns that they have, and why, and how we're going to help. We got to be doing the same thing day to day with our teaching things. We do a lot of chatting with parents. Every single member of our school has Heidi's cell phone number now, and they are directly chatting, no software in between, just them chatting. When the kids are having challenges, we're making sure that those are the ones that get the socially distant ninja visits, or that they get, Heidi's made phone calls to some of these kids. Hey, Johnny's really sad. How can we help him? Whatever. Heidi says, you got 5 minutes? I'll call him right now. So it's the parents' struggles that are being addressed, and the kids benefit from it. In the long run, that will also stop you from losing students as we go through these crazy times. You have to be a parenting hub for the kids.
Yeah, and it also helps me to know how to communicate with that child when I know what the parents' emotions or the parents' vibes are.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I was sent a message the other day, and I don't know if the person is watching or not, but how do you weed out when you're doing your pre-evaluation and when you're doing this? How do you weed out the ones that you don't want? That's how I do it. That's how I do it. If I realize that parent is not the right fit for our studio, I'm going to be working triple hard, quadruple hard to get the parent to understand our method and our system and everything.
And I know that's come up a few times too, reading the parents or using the evals to filter. And as much as I'm a big fan of systematizing such things and objective measurements, to be fair, if it's not something you're good at, don't be hard on yourself. That is a big experiential learning curve on how to really read the telltale signs of, because the first time you meet somebody, they always put their best foot forward.
And it's not that I don't want to deal with them, right? I would much rather, and my approach is not necessarily like, no, don't sign up with us. My approach is more like, well, you know what, Mrs. Smith, how about this? How about if we just do a couple of, at-home training concept? I'll send you the email right now. It's got 8 different at-home training. Why don't you go through it? If you have any questions, please let me know. So I'm not dismissing them.
No.
I'm just
as simple as turning up your level of education to make sure they clearly understand what you do.
Yeah.
Each situation, I think, is going to be pretty unique like that. And that's where that experience.
Meanwhile, I send them, 1 or 2 weekly emails that talks about Skillz, that talks about the science and psychology behind it, that talks about who we are as pediatric ninja specialists, that talks about the parent skills. I mentioned this in the Skillz Lifetime group. Right now, I'm recreating a whole different set of parent skills group on a whole different platform, on a whole different app. Why? because those are the suspects that I want to bring them in as suspects, turn them into prospects, turn them into leads, and I'm just feeding them, twice a week worth of stuff. I'm not doing it every day because they're gonna miss it, right? But twice a week is gonna ding, right in their notification.
So what John is actually doing is the parent skill nurturing. When you nail that down, you actually nurture the right kind of leads to come into your school that match your environment, which is a really good segment to how are we nurturing the students right now? In a traditional sense, if a child is being challenged by something, we can pull them off to the side and spend a little special time with them. That handwritten note would have been something special. And now you can't really pull them off to the side, though you can use something.
No, you can.
You can use a breakout room.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't physically,
no,
but you can go into a breakout room. The handwritten notes are both more meaningful and less meaningful at the same time. They're Schrodinger's handwritten notes. In one sense, it's a lifeline to somebody outside of the home, so it is more important. In the other sense, that's how everything is coming right now, so it's not as unique. So, it still has a ton of value, and I would still do it. But how are we nurturing students on just a day-to-day basis to make sure that not only are they learning, but they are growing? Because we're a childhood development, not just martial arts.
Absolutely. So, you know what? You didn't even ask, but I'm just going to take a stab at this. One, we've got our regular age-specific virtual martial arts classes. Two, we've decided to add on kids yoga classes. So it's giving them another set of instructors. It's giving them another outlet. It's giving them the opportunity to, and the kids yoga classes, and this is going to be coming out soon with Yoga Skillz. The kids yoga classes is story time. So Miss Anna is doing story with them, and as she reads specific yoga poses, they do that yoga pose. So it's helping them intellectually to listen, comprehend the information as she's speaking it. Physically, they're doing it with her when she does the poses. Socially, they're looking at each other, and if they forget a pose or something, somebody is out there helping them with it. But then emotionally, they'll come back at the last 5 minutes of class, and Miss Anna just allows them to speak and talk and, explain what they got out of that story.
And that's so important. A lot of people forget that step. When you teach a lesson, your job is not done until your student can teach you that lesson back. They need time to take it in, then mull it around, then expound it back. So make sure you're including time for them to, have their input as well. As far as nurturing, we're also, I love those ideas, and we're doing a lot of stuff like that where it's not just martial arts classes. We're nurturing relationships with the kids and providing them outlet, which is something they need. We're also nurturing especially our storm team and our older kids. I know most of you are doing challenges. Hey, I want you to do 10 push-ups every day for the next week, whatever it is. Think about beyond the physical as well. How are you nurturing their intellectual selves? Maybe they want to do story time is their intellectual, or maybe for older kids, it's read a book, this week and then tell us about it. Are you nurturing them emotionally? First of all, by providing them a sounding board for when their emotions are overwhelming. And second of all, for providing them emotional challenges. One of our challenges for our storm team this week was to find somebody that needs some inspiration in their life, somebody that's not dealing well with all of this. Then find a way to be worthy of inspiring them, and then execute whatever your plan is to then inspire them. And it doesn't have to be a peer. It could have been a parent, a teacher. And in fact, we told them, if you're really feeling like a good leader, you will try to inspire those above you. So we're emotionally and socially nurturing them as well, which is something that has sadly been hamstrung a little bit. They're not getting the levels of social or emotional interaction that they used to. So I think it's very important for us to nurture those aspects. John, they're coming for you.
I don't know. They've been going around for a while, man. I guess they can't find me. Good thing I'm hiding.
He's in the woods.
I'm in the woods.
In the woods. I think we got time for one more here. Was it 12:22? Unless you're someplace else. All right, so here's one. Oh man, they're all good though. They're all good. So would you rather do, so I'm going to use a teaching skill right now, choices. Mr. Salama, would you rather talk about consistency, adaptability, or edutainment?
The three of them are absolutely amazing.
I know. Okay? It's hard to choose.
However, I'm going to go with adaptability.
All right, you take adaptability, and I'm going to go with consistency. And how you guys have figured out edutainment being on Zoom for 2 months. All right, cool.
Adaptability. I think we're all going through the past 6 weeks, 7 weeks of this new concept of doing things. And in the very beginning, and even now, some of the kids are still having a hard time adapting to being at home, training. Some of the kids are being put into different rooms every single day as they're doing classes. That's difficult because they're constantly having those squirrel moments. They're not used to that environment on a regular basis. So kind of like, consistency. That is the lack of, right? So therefore, they're having a hard time adapting to what's going on or, how they're going to do things. They're all over the place. And then you have to be the person to tell them, hey, look at me. Hey, are you watching me? Hey, Michael, why are you looking out the window? What's out there, man? Do you have a frog? Do you have a cat? Whatever. So I try to do it in a way to get them to come back to me. But I have to do it in a way that it's not like I'm not crushing them simply because, first of all, it's out of my control. Second of all, it's out of their control because they're being placed into that room by their parents. So at the very end of the class or something, I'll say, hey, parents, if you're in the room, come in with me. Guys, are your parents around? We'll bring it in and we'll do a quick parenting skills talk with them to make sure that the parents also understand that, not to jump your points, as long as the children are consistent in what they're doing, they're going to have much easier time adapting to what we're doing versus, being all over the place.
Yeah, it's funny how the two seemingly opposite ideas actually build on one another. Consistency, which I'm going to take in a different direction in a second, but having that consistency allows you to be adaptable. Mm-hmm. Just like when you have discipline, it provides you freedom. When you have systems, it allows you to pivot. You have to have both. You can't get so tied into consistency that you can't adapt. But it's also really hard to adapt if you're just randomly, like John said, different room every single day and surrounded by toys one day and outside the next. Having that consistency will allow the smaller changes to not matter as much or to become benefits.
It's the yin and yang of martial arts.
Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? We haven't put the philosophy in a while, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It is. I mean, is it black? Is it white? Well, it can be gray. Depends on that fine line that you walk. Mm-hmm. But it's a gray in a healthy line. It's a gray in a healthy format.
Which, by the way, even though most of us have been in the arts and steeped in Asian culture for many years, the Tai Chi symbol, which we all call the yin yang, is actually 3 parts. There's the yin, the yang, and the mediator between them. We are the mediator. Without our perception of things, nothing is either yin and yang. Because we perceive it, it is both. It's up to us to figure out. So nowadays we call that, starvation mindset versus, growth mindset. But it's the same concept. It's all about how we see it. What am I doing? All right, I'm going to be really quick with my consistency thing. So here's a benefit that we have right now. I was talking to somebody yesterday who has a business idea of repurposing his classes as a super low budget, lead loss, high volume line of income. 10, 15 bucks a month, right? No interaction, just here's access to the recordings. So if you figure the average person comes 10 times a month, he's charging $15 a month. That means that every class is worth $1.50. How many classes have you taught in your history as an instructor? Imagine you had $1.50 for each of them. We are right now, by using Zoom and YouTube and Facebook video, we are creating content like has never been done before in the martial arts industry, except by one or two leaders in that niche. When we get back to normal, don't stop. Build it as consistency. And in days when you just have an off day and can't come up with something, pull the archival footage, edit it up, and get it out there. There's no reason to not have at least one video a week going out on YouTube to build a subscriber base who, even if you are only making $3 in ad monetization off of it, who cares? These are now people who are interacting with your brand, with you, and building you up in a larger sense. But if your consistency stops the second your doors open up, now you're doing all the same amount of work, but only getting 1/10 of the results. So
I just had that same conversation in one of my coaching calls yesterday, and they were about to give it away for free. I said, wait, stop, don't, what, huh? No.
There are things to give away for free.
Yes.
And then there are things that are super low budget, and then there are upsells, and then there's ways.
You can give it away for free for maybe a week. Again, it's a trial offer. You know what I mean? However, you can definitely drop the price to a much more affordable concept where here are the recordings, and you can charge it weekly or you can charge it monthly. But we worked hard to create that, and we had to become innovative in coming up with ideas and contents and stuff like that, right? So why give it away for free?
So I'm taking a course with Frank Kern right now, one of my favorite marketers. And as part of the course, he upsold me, because that's what he does, and I'm willing to do it. He upsold me on also taking a little micro course that he put together in using video to build a sense of persona. So in this course, it's the Frank Kern of today that we all know and love, with the short hair and the fancy watch and the fancy billboard and whatever whiteboard, introducing a clip of the Frank Kern from 5 years ago with the shoulder length hair and the looser dress, who is then talking about a video from 12 years ago from the hippie haired Frank Kern. It is Frank Kernception. And in that video of the old Frank Kern from 12 years ago, he is showing as an example a Frank Kern viral marketing campaign from 15 years ago, before he was even known. So he is repurposing content in order to repurpose content in order to repurpose content. And I'm only day 3 into the course. And it's all still valuable because of the way that he provides insight from today into how that worked and why it worked or what went wrong with it. So there still is a ton of value. Can you do that with your program? 6 months from now, can you, knowing what you know then, introduce the lessons that you're teaching today, then cut in footage of you doing it real time in class, and then within that, cut in footage from back when we were all young, dumb, and still fighting in the ring and taking all that head trauma? All this footage can be used again and again and again and again, but only if you are consistently recording it and saving it somewhere.
Yep.
Then finding adaptable ways to innovate and reuse it. All right. So that actually brings us to about time. So just as a quick recap, first of all, subscribe to our new YouTube channel. If you don't, we know where you all live, work, and teach, and we will come there, and your finger will hit the subscribe button one way or another. No. Yeah, please subscribe. It's going to be something cool for all of you guys. Make sure you are maintaining your composure. Take a breath, write stuff out, delete it, vent to somebody, whatever you got to do. You need to be the pillar for your community, for your school, for your family, and for yourself. Review the parent Skillz material. If you're a Skillz member, you have in-depth access to it. And look at how the things that you are doing today in the worst of times, quote unquote worst of times, some people are really killing it out there in a positive way. And look forward 6 months to how today's hardships, challenges, and lessons will make you a prime candidate for being instructor of the year in 6 months, or business owner of the year, or Skillz school of the year. Just to throw that out there. Let's see. Did I miss anything? I don't think I missed anything. No. Oh, and you could probably ask one of your local history teachers what a VCR is. Because that's how we started it all. It's probably in the junk shop around the corner. Fred Sanford selling it.
Or maybe in the basement somewhere.
Maybe in the basement.
Yep.
Now everybody's going to go, who's Fred Sanford? I'm coming, Elizabeth. All right. I'm too old to get it. All right, everybody. So bottom line is, every challenge is an opportunity. Sometimes it is a physical opportunity where you see a need or you're having a problem, and your solution is what springboards you to success. In this case, it's far more up in the mind space. But all of our challenges right now are crafting us into something. And your job is to take command and steer it in the most positive direction possible. You will only benefit from it.
Absolutely.
Also subscribe on YouTube. Did I mention that?
Did you guys hear that?
All right, everybody. That is enough of us. You guys go crush it, get it, provide amazing service for people, be adaptable, innovate, be there for people. Be the shining beacon of hope.
Hey, real quick, how many more subscribers do we need for that?
Let's see. We got to hit 100. Let me see. Let's go to our channel. I just created it last night. Let's see. We're up to 44. So
Come on, guys. Get us to 100 by the end of tonight. Let's go.
Right? Come on, guys. You got us to like 1,100 Skillz schools after the Super Show. But all we need is another 56 people so I can make some edits and changes here.
I mean, there is more than 1,000 followers on this page. We can get 100 by the end of the day today. Be an action taker. It's not going to hurt you. It's going to help you.
And it's going to help me, which will then help you in exchange. It's cyclical in nature. Yin and yang. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
There we are again. All right, everybody. Go get it.
Peace out, y'all.
Bye-bye.